Yes, good evening, good early evening, good late afternoon. Welcome back aboard the Bhoycie Bus. That is, of course, a wee pop-up, wee surprise one, but no surprises, because we all know what was happening today. Of course, it was the Bronze Adonis. Brendan Rodgers was paraded officially as our manager. We got a wee clip from the social media yesterday, a wee sort of taste of things to come, and we get served up a wee bit more of the same, albeit double in length. So we're just going to break that down, chat about what was said, what we thought on it, take it from there. So I'm delighted to be on such sort of late notice on the hot foot, to be joined by two of the bus legends, which is, of course, up beside me, is a man who gives journalism and youth a hope, a man that's sharp as a tack. I love your takes, brother. It is, of course, the young and very intelligent Regan Stevenson. What's happening, my man?
Stevo, it's great to be on. Thank you for having me on. It's a big day for Celtic, so it's good to be on. Talk to to both you guys about a big day in Scottish football.
It's your idea. Well, it's you two boys' idea. You have jumped us on, so thank you to you. You have fucking dragged me out. My eyes are popping in my head, but more than happy to ever sit and talk football with you. And of course, down below me, another man. He doesn't need any introductions. He's Big C himself, a man who, just let's say it, just tells it like it is, opens up and lets it rip. How you doing, my man?
I'm good, mate. I'm ready. Very exciting to be on, talking about Brendan being back. So I'm ready to just sit here, talk a bit and bask in the golden glow of Brendan and his tan.
Did you get a heat off the telly?
Well, I did actually, but I think that's because it's on the fritz.
There we go. Anyway, as we says, we'll break it down. If you guys are watching it out there, share in your comments what you thought about it. Were you interested? Were you excited? What did you like? Was there anything that you thought, that's interesting? Anything you thought, I didn't like that? There wasn't much to not like, was there? But if you do, let us know. But anyway, before we crack on, we just got to do that wee quick bit of housekeeping, all that good stuff. Of course, you're watching us on YouTube. If you haven't done already, it takes 2 seconds. Flip over, hit the bell icon, subscribe. That way, every time we go live, we put out some new content, you'll get notified. If you like what we do, give us a wee thumbs up. And if you want to go a wee bit crazy, you can even share our content. Just gets the algorithm, gets the reach out there, gets more bodies on board. Happy days. If you're interested in elsewhere, we're obviously on EPL Index, we're on Acast, Spotify. Plenty of options for you to listen on the move. If you want to interact with us, we also have the Bhoycie Bus Twitter. Check for us over there, and all our personal handles are there. Should you like listening to the nonsense that comes out of our mouth, from a personal standpoint, not within the confines of the bus. With 2 sponsors to just quickly mention to. The first, of course, long standing up there in the top corners, piesports.com. Set yourself over there, get an order in at 12.5% using Bus 1888. Happy days, you can't say fair on that. And of course, our more recent sponsor gets a wee bit of laugh into it, guys. It is, of course, ED Pharmacy. So if you are not an exciting chap like Brendan Rodgers and you can't get folk up for it, or indeed can't get yourself up for it, then get yourself over there, place an order for the magic beans and put in Bus 10 at checkout. That'll get you 10% off your order. And if you order early afternoon, they try to guarantee same day delivery within central Scotland. That promotion, by the way, is extending for a couple of weeks, such as the amount of horniness around those who watch the bus. It's not down to me what you guys do in your spare time, but clearly you're having a good bit of spare time, so happy days all around. Anyway, it's all done. Over 100 of you joining us live. As I say, thank you very much. It's always very greatly appreciated to drop your day and come spend it with us. So, Brendan Rodgers was wheeled out. It was all rather low-key, was it not? We got the wee sample yesterday. There was a spattering of 20-odd folk maybe outside. The barriers were out. I don't know what they were expecting. But it happened, and he was presented to the media, apart from the BBC. We'll get to that later on. So, what went down? What did they say? Well, a couple of things, we'll break it down. Key points, big sort of lean on Europe. There was a lot of mention of Europe, guys, about how he was in, he was impressed with what was put to him in terms of infrastructure, how we've grown as a club, how we come across. Spoke about his background staff, spoke about Kennedy, spoke about the style, wanting to keep that going on. Then Nicholson gave us a wee flavour of what he expects for Brendan, what he expects for the club. And more importantly, we got a guarantee. There's something you don't normally get in football.
Whoa.
So, straight off the bat, let's go to yourself, budding journalist, my good friend Regan at the top. Beside me, we'll work our way around the clock. So, what did you think? Just initial key takeaways, mate.
I thought Brendan spoke very well. I thought his fake tan was looking great as well, I must say. And I thought he spoke really well in terms of saying all the right things, in terms of he obviously is great to be back. And obviously, like you said there, Stevo, he spoke about a big intention of being in European football. And I think that's only a good thing, Stevo, because I don't know how many times me and Mark have said on the Sunday show that it's so important for Celtic to do well in Europe. And I think in terms of Brendan and the board, I think that's what his 3 years is doing, to try and evolve Celtic, to make them into some sort of European giant again. Because I grew up watching Celtic when Nakamura was playing. Scott McDonald scored that magnificent goal against AC Milan. Then you've had Scott McDonald scored against Man U as well. I remember that game. And then Ryan scored to make it one each. So we just want to get back to those famous European nights at Celtic Park. And I think that's a great thing for the board as well, because I think the board, right, I don't know how long we've said this on the bus, but it's actually good to see them not focusing on just being good in Scotland as well, Stevo, because I want to see Celtic improve in every aspect. And I don't know if you've seen Michael Nicholson. He says Celtic are a world-class football club.
Yep.
And that's what our standards. And I think those are words that Celtic fans need to take seriously. Those are words that we want to hear. But then Celtic board need to then go out and back Brendan and back. See if he's got a player that he wants for £10 million. Go out and show him that you're serious. Go out and do that.
Absolutely. It's true. And I get to say on that as well, Connor. The thing I thought was quite interesting was Nicholson spoke in his sort of key points where he says that Celtic as a club want to be world class and want to be class leading. Highlighted again the importance of wanting to dominate domestically, but also to improve and impress in Europe. And he said that we can do that through being profitable and also continuing to be self-sustainable. I don't know about you guys, but I certainly think that Nicholson, for a director, board standpoint, I know it's all about Rodgers. I've been quite impressed anytime I have heard him speak. He doesn't seem quite as generic and standoffish as some of the suits that we've saw in the past. He seems a bit more down to earth. He seems a bit more realistic and a bit more approachable. And that was all very much echoed with what Rodgers was saying. So, see, on that, Connor, obviously everybody's eager to progress in Europe. Do you think, as important as it is, how quickly are fans going to want to see that improvement? Europe's very much about a luck of the draw, isn't it? Because, last season we had a group that realistically, I would say if we got that same group this season, I would be expecting better. But if we got a complete group of death with 3 of the top heavyweight titans, it's hard, is it not, to maybe judge that? So what do you expect in terms of European development? How do we measure that? Is it going to be from the off? Are fans going to do that? Or is it see where we go this season into next?
I think it might have a bit of a split. I feel like a lot of the fan base may want instant impact, and some may want to, let it marinate over the course of a season and a half to see how we go on, this season. But Brendan, I think, already kind of spoke about it as if he wants to get in it right away. I mean, he even said, let's get to work. He's not saying let's build and let's, see how it goes. He's saying let's get to work. Let's get down to business. So it's very. I think personally, me, I want to see us make a stab at it this season. And no, I'm not expecting us to do anything fucking ridiculous like win the Champions League or get to the semis, but I would like to see us take a serious go and getting out the groups and maybe winning a knockout tie in European football, whether that's in the Champions League or in the Europa League. And if we do drop in the Europa League, because Rodgers did allude to if we're in the Champions League or if we do drop down, they will be taking it serious. Do you know what I mean? Which I feel is very, very important and something to, get excited about, because we've all said it, Mark said it, Russell said it, we're all kind of long enough in the tooth that Celtic have not been great in Europe for a long time now, and I think the last significant result we got really was, I know you can talk about the 2 draws Brendan got with Man City. I don't really count them, to be honest, even though they were good at the time, but they beating arguably the best club side in European football it's ever seen, in that Barcelona side, under Lenny, that legendary night, and we'll never forget it, because it is one of those nights where the odds are against you but you don't give up. And if there's anybody can kind of bring that feeling back, as in the tactical masterclasses to do well in Europe, is Brendan, because yes, Leicester are, I'd say, a bigger club now than what they were 20 years ago, obviously, with the riches that the Premier League's got them, but they're not a massive club by any stretch, and he got them to a European semi-final. That takes some doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Celtic are a miles bigger club who have a gargantuan sized fan base as opposed to Leicester, and we could only dream to do something like that. So, and he obviously would have been very disappointed by that with Leicester. So I feel like this is all kind of like the perfect storm, as he's coming back. He's wanting to right the wrongs of the past and atone for his sins, as it were, if that's how you feel. And I feel like Celtic's going to give him the perfect vehicle to do that. And the board and Brendan and the fans, to a certain extent, seem to be all on board and in tandem now, which is really important, because we want Celtic being in the upper echelons of European football again and being considered one of the big dogs. Nobody can say we're not a big club, but I think everybody kind of looks at us now as a little bit of a punching bag, and it's kind of gutting when you look at it that way. And I don't want us to be that. I want us to change that, and for us to be the team who you don't want to go to Celtic Park on a European night, whether it's Champions League or Europa League. You do not want to be playing them, because you'll get a hiding off them. And as soon as you enter that stadium, you hear the noise, you will get the fear right up you. That's what I want to see again.
Yeah. No, there are a lot of folk are sort of coming in with the comments, and it's good to see. There seems to be a sort of real sort of, holistic approach and look at this, but everybody's sort of saying, right, obviously we want to approach and we want to get better in Europe, but there's a wee bit of sort of realism around it and that. So, what's your thoughts on that? Obviously, all the good thing, the positives that were coming out today was there was a lot of chat about wanting to, basically, as we've said before, act like a big club. Terms like, being world class and class leading, that kind of stuff getting used, and then obviously making an impact or improving in Europe. What does European progress look like to yourself, Regan? I mean, obviously it starts with good and sound investment, but it needs to go a wee bit sort of beyond that. What's your expectations and hopes?
Probably a quarter final of the Europa League. Probably something about that. And we can say, well, I think Brendan's showed us that if we can get a proper structure in place, a proper management team, a proper the board. If the board are buying into it, if they're willing to put their money in their pocket, then I think that's only good, and I think that's something that's been lacking. And I think in terms of if you look at it from the point of view of the press conference today, Steve, right? See the very first question somebody asked. They said, what made Brendan the right appointment? They said, because we wanted to kick on. I think I think that's something that we probably didn't do when Rodgers left. We didn't kick on. And as much as I don't want to praise the bloat here, maybe they've learned a lesson. They've went, right, well, we can't mess this up again. We need to kick on this time.
Yeah, well, that's interesting you said that, because he did reflect a wee bit, didn't he? When he spoke about the chats that he had with Nicholson, and pretty much reading between the lines. It sounded as if he'd been sold a sort of vision of we've moved on for the last time, and he sort of laid mention to that, and he praised the infrastructure, he praised Wall Junior in the recruiting process. And he said that he was actually impressed with it, and there was a notable improvement from when he was there last time. So, we as fans sort of sit here and we just sort of, things happen and we react and we surmise and we make guesses of what's going on. But did it sound to you, Beacon, as if that has been happening then? Did you take positives for that? If he's been impressed, bearing in mind that he left us not so impressed and went to a club the likes of Leicester size, where you'd think that it was very top level way of behaving. If he's been impressed, is that good signs for you?
Because maybe he looked at Andrew and went, look how much, how many players Andrew's brought in. I mean, Brendan was never allowed that control.
Yeah.
See people that come on here and say Brendan signed a lot of players, but you're trying to tell me that Brendan wanted Buck, Jeremy Toyan,
Bhoycie,
Bio. I mean, I was at the Celtic Park when they signed Marvin Crumper. See Marvin Crumper signed, that was the end of Brendan Rodgers, because you just knew that guy wasn't going to play. And it was quite funny because I'm saying it's funny, but I was at the treble game when we played Motherwell, I think, and Marvin Crumper goes up to get his medal at that Scottish Cup final. The whole place is just like, yay!
Biggest cheer of the day, wasn't it?
Aye. I think see all Brendan really wants. See if he sees a player in the £6 million market, all he wants is you to go, right, we're totally going to back you here. No, like, and see the interesting thing for the board, right? Maybe they've sat back and watched Andy and went, see what happens when we properly back a manager, because maybe they felt like that Celtic had to stay in the Scottish football pyramid where they feel like, it's so important just to beat Rangers. Maybe they've come out of that mindset anymore. Maybe they've changed the board. Maybe they've went, shit, maybe we need to open our eyes a little bit and go, this is not the be all and end all.
Yeah. No, it's to say that it was very positive. I did like that sort of noises being made for board level and reality to Brendan. What's your thoughts on that? Is just to elaborate a wee bit on what Regan's gave us his opinion with it. This whole idea of infrastructure that's certainly impressing them. Have we been sort of just been fans, sort of being negative at first and thinking, who knows what's going on? Are we actually going to be find that we're pleasantly surprised? If you can impress somebody like Rodgers and coax him back after wanting to go on a year's sabbatical and not get involved, we must be doing something right, eh? It can't just be about money.
Yeah, he did seem very impressed on the current infrastructure of the club, because he wasn't shy today and he said, I was going to take a year out. I was going to take a year sabbatical and kick my feet up and sip martinis. But he's obviously he's probably seen what's changed, because the club from where he left it into where they are now are in a completely different kind of headspace, in a completely different area. They've upgraded in a lot of areas, and Lawwell Jr. has come in and he is taking a lot to do with transfer business and the scouting department. All that seems to have been vastly improved, and a lot of the players who just get thrust onto managers seem to be dying down. That seems to be dwindling away. So, and they seem to be getting backed. And Brendan did spend about £9 million on Rodgers and Edward, but he did get players for decent fees as well. And I don't think he is necessarily going to want to spend ridiculous amounts of money and spunk it all away on somebody for Arsenal's B team who's got a good potential, but they're demanding absolutely ridiculous prices. So I think it is really, really positive, and I'm looking forward to seeing how well they work, because Brendan did very, very well with what I had in spite of the board his first time round.
Yes.
And now with them seemingly on the surface level backing him to the hilt and all working as a cohesive unit, that could spell very, very good times for us and for Brendan as the manager.
Yeah. Well, aside from all this positive chat that we saw around about, as we say, wanting to push on, and that we appear to have improved vastly in how we run as a club. Another thing that we obviously got a big ask around was certainly style of play and philosophy and how do you want to do. And he reiterated what we saw yesterday, where he was saying, what you've seen before isn't too dissimilar to how I want to play. Style and philosophy are similar, attacking based, and they use that classic phrase that the managers use, win, but win in style and in a certain way, that Celtic way, if you will. And he said a big thing around that as well was the importance of those around them. As you mentioned before we came on, guys, he'd obviously been speaking to Cal McGregor ahead of time, and he said that he was very impressed with what Callum had told him about the squad, saying that they were hungry, they were young, they were ambitious, they wanted to move forward. And he was obviously, it was quite, complimentary towards Ange and what he'd built and what he'd brought together. But a big thing that he said was Kennedy. Now, Kennedy has come round, seen the swirling rumours before, was going to go, and he wanted to stay. And he made it pretty clear, did he not, Regan, that he spoke to Nicholson, and one of his key chats with him about it was the importance of keeping Kennedy in place. He sees a lot in him. He wanted him there.
Yep.
So how do you think that's going to help him in this transition? Is it as seamless? Does it go without saying? Is it going to be a seamless one? Or,
I think it is, because if you look at John Kennedy, as much as we like to slag him sometimes and say, why does he not go out and get his own job? I think there's also something there to say that all these players that worked with Kennedy last season got a treble, and they've got 5 of the last 7 trophies available to them in Scotland. So, yeah, you have to say John Kennedy's doing a good job for Celtic, and the fact that he did well with Rodgers as well, he won 7 trophies out of 7, and the fact that like you said there, Stevo, possibly a little bit of change in play between Rodgers and Ange. See if the players take a little bit of time to adapt to Rodgers' style. John Kennedy can be that guy that can say to him, look, mate, this is what we do here. And then possibly transfer as well, because I think it's important to mention that Strachan and Kittle the coaching staff last year, they did a very good job. And the fact that they're staying there must be good for the players as well, because I think Cal McGregor mentioned it in his interview this week. He says it's good to have John there and the coaching staff for a bit of continuity for the players.
Yeah.
And as much as us fans we don't think about that often, it must be a very good thing for them, because they're knowing that these are the people that know them very well and they can transfer. And that's like John Kennedy must be doing something right, and they must be getting the best out of these players, because Celtic have been very dominant. The only season when they've been dominant is the COVID season.
Oh, I know, and that was a freak, wasn't it?
Yeah, and people were reading into Kennedy, like Kennedy's face and all that sort of stuff, saying that Kennedy wasn't good enough. And
doesn't he smile enough?
Well, I know that, and the body language. I think the COVID we all became body language experts. But see on that, Connor, it is quite interesting, and as Regan saying about Kennedy being a bridge between the old and the new. We spoke about when a manager comes in and the idea of him being inspirational and somebody that can pick up the players. Not that they need picked up, but what I mean is any lingering doubts that they might have, any thoughts they maybe want to move on or feeling let down with their manager going. It was important that with a presence, somebody that would inspire, somebody that would instantly get them excited. But if a name like Brendan Rodgers and the way that he presents with his consummate professionalism, if that's not enough to convince some of these players, then surely Kennedy saying, well, look, I was asked to go, but here's why I wanted to stay. Is that going to be beneficial as well? Just, Kennedy, if he needs to or feels it, having a word with a few folk and saying, listen, by the way, here's what you're getting with him. And maybe not, there's no need for Brendan to say anything to some of these guys that might be looking to get their head turned.
Aye, because, I know obviously when he left and that, and people had certain feelings towards him, and some people every time Leicester fucking conceded a goal or lost a game or, jizzing in their fucking pants or whatever. But, he has a brilliant reputation down in England, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has I think he was getting pegged for the Chelsea job by a lot of pundits because he's held in that high esteem down there that they think he was the guy to steady the ship that is Chelsea, and that is an absolute basket case of a club, and we all know that now with how they're doing. So if that's what they thought that he could achieve there, and he's obviously learned more and developed more. He'll have different coaching styles, different methods, all sorts of stuff coming back in. So it's really important. I like the fact that he's coming in and he says that he's under pressure. Mm-hmm. He says that there's pressure now more so the first time. He says he's never kind of came into a club where everything's been good and you need to take that to the next level. He says he's came into clubs where they've kind of been maybe not doing so well and needs to get them back up. So this is a new experience for him as well. And it's really good that he's coming in to do this. And do you know what I mean? Like, I know that a lot of people forgave him and that, and throughout the years we've all been like, "Aye, we take him back." But up until he was getting linked, the major consensus was still that he was a scumbag, Judas bastard, and all the rest of it by a lot of people. So you have to give him credit. He's got some major balls to come back in, swan in, and just take this job and take it by the reins and say, right, I'm here to lead us back into the glory land of European football and elevate us to that next level. So I'm here for it.
That's the thing. He did say that, Regan. He said about the expectations being greater than last time and there being more pressure than last time. Now, how do you split that up? I mean, do you think that's simply the pressure's there mainly because he's picking up a team who are just off? I mean, let's not forget, he picked up a successful team. Vidala, all right, we went down on a low point where we get put out to Rangers in the semi-final, so maybe it was, he says, coming in a negative, but it wasn't really coming in a complete negative, was he? But let's talk about pressures being a wee bit greater than last time. Do you think that's more to do quite simply with the situation he's returned, the nature of the fan, sort of a wee bit of discontent, or the fact that we've just won a treble, instant Champions League, more money, stronger position? Is that a pressure? Or is it more to do with the fans and trying to win them over? Or is it a combination of both? What do you think he means by that?
I think it's a combination of three things, Stevo. It's a combination of there actually being a proper challenge for Rangers this time. It's a combination of Brendan Rodgers actually saying, right, well, I'm actually going to get back this time. And it's also a combination of him actually saying to himself that he actually, like you said there, it's because they've just won 3 trophies. And I think in terms of that as well, I think Conor makes a good point in terms of seeing football, Steve. A lot of jobs you go into, you're going into someone that's picking the players up when they've been relegated or when they've not playing well. Brendan Rodgers is going in there when everybody's happy, everybody's.
It's usually off the back of a sacking, isn't it?
Yeah, and the fact that I think the fact that he's talking about, I've got a young squad that can develop. I think he's looking at players like Jota and Maeda and going, I can make these guys so much better. Fair play to And, right? And see, the thing is with And, right? We tend to forget Andrew's a great manager, but see, Brendan Rodgers, he takes you up at least another 5 notches. Because I think we tend to forget that, like Conor says as well, Brendan's been like with so many big jobs over the years. Brendan's this is no us getting to some guy off the street. Brendan is a top manager, and I think sometimes we need to sit back and go, right, we've got a really good manager on hands here, and if we treat this guy good, he can do really good things for this club to push forward. And I think one of the interesting points that we need to bear in mind as well as, see if Brendan does well. The thing is, success is going to come, but what he needs to do this time is leave at the end of the season or leave the club at a good point. I said to you when we come on the show there, Steve, about Brendan saying about he's going to be here for 3 years. That maybe puts him in a wee hole straight away.
It's bold, isn't it? It's bold.
Yes, because if he doesn't stay, then people will be clapping up YouTube channels and saying, "Well, this is what Brendan said 3 years ago." So I don't know if he's kind of tied himself in a hole there right away.
Aye. Well, see, we'll get around to that in a minute or two, but see, just to follow on, sorry for what Regan said there, Connor, see, in terms of the managing style, that listen, there's no doubt anybody that's saying that Postecoglou wasn't a good manager and that, that's just fickle fandom, isn't it? And folk flipping on a sixpence and changing their mind. But what do you think it is that we get out of Rodgers that's different? Regan's alluding to the idea of development. We've seen that in his previous tenure here, where he brought on players and developed it. They're two different coaches, are they not? Ange seems very much he just wants to be a training ground type of guy and focus on the drilling and how the play is put out there. Rodgers, he seems again a bit more overarching, a bit more holistic, does he not? He is a people pleaser, unlike Ange, who says he's not there to keep guys happy. Do you think he's more of an arm round you type of manager, and that, particularly with this modern type of footballer, if you want to call it, they're maybe a wee bit soft and they kind of need coaxed out? Do you think that's going to work in our favour? Do you think Brendan's big $1 million smile and telling everybody that they're 10 foot tall is going to pick some of these guys up to levels that we didn't even know were there?
I mean, even Ange, when he was here, said it himself, he said, the worst position you could be with me is sitting on a plane beside me because I'm not even talking to you. The players would dread sitting next to him because you just know that kind of guy. And I feel that the difference is Ange would probably tell you not go out for a drink and get to your bed by 9 p.m. Brendan, whilst the consummate professional, he would let you celebrate and say, "Oh, I'm gonna buy you a pint and we'll have a wee chat about your future," or something like that. It kind of does seem very, friendly and personable towards the players and the staff. You seen him coming in today, just for 2 minutes. I noticed for the cameras, but shaking everybody's hand. And do you know what I mean? If you're like the dinner lady or that, do you know what I mean, it's Celtic Park, and the manager, the gaffer, comes up to you, he's like, "How you doing? You having a nice day? Oh, that looks lovely. I hope you're having a good day, blah, blah, blah." You'd feel 10 feet tall, do you know what I mean? And he does kind of seem like that kind of person. But in terms of the players and the differentiating management styles, one of the major things that I feel is really going to be evident is his in-game management. Brendan was excellent at his in-game management, but I feel that just wasn't his cup of tea. You could stick a fiver on every game you've seen Ange's playing, saying he'll make his first sub in 75 minutes, and he'll probably take off one. He'll probably take off one of the players who's had a better game and put like a David Turnbull or somebody on, or not James McCarthy, but do you know what I mean? Just somebody the blue here, but like, why are you putting him on? He's had the better game. He's had the shitter game. Bring him off first. And, you could even say with those games we weren't playing as well, or we were maybe, under the cosh or getting beat. You'd be like, you need to take them fucking off at half time. You need to do this. You need to do this quicker. And they eventually do it on the 70th, 80th minute. You're like, you should have done that 25 minutes ago, Ange. Brendan's not like that. He'll make the changes as and when they need made. He's not going to sit on his thumbs and twiddle his hands in that and just say, right, well, we'll give it 10 minutes and see what happens. No, I don't think he'll necessarily care that, like, you're a good player in that, but you know how to fucking need games, son. So come off. Yeah. You go on and make that. You go back to the 3-2 game at Ibrox. You go down to 10 men. Any of us who's in that position get put down to 10 men. First thing you do, stick on another defender. Nah. Yeah. He sticks on another striker. We win that game 3-2, and that's a game that I think we went 9 points clear, and we just romped the league for there, and that was probably the game that won us the league. So he's very much all about his in-game management, and you can even see it when he's on the sidelines, because when rewatching, probably like everybody, you've been rewatching clips and highlights for old games, he's not going to say he's animated on the touchline, but he's involved. And a lot of the times, like unless the one time he fucking screamed the pants of Steve Welsh for doing a pass back, he didn't really get involved much. He would kind of just stand there with his hands in his pockets, doing the same face. And Brendan, you'll see him get involved. I can't wait for all like the mad hand signals to come back, telling players what to do and that. You can just see his brain. You see the gears turning in his brain all the time about what he's analysing and what he wants the players to do.
Daft, doesn't he? Likes a wee
loves the notepad, do you know what I mean? And maybe that's where they do differentiate a lot. And look, everybody like loves Scott Brown and that, right? But let's no beat around the bush. Before Brendan came in, he looked like he was done. He looked like he was at the door on his way out in his last legs. He came in and got him playing some of the best football his entire career. Do you know what I mean? And he moulded him into that and got the best out of him. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't the only one. James Forrest, and he had been brought in competition for him and the former Patrick Roberts, and they two were on fire as well. Stuart Armstrong as well. Nobody was going to really bother if Stuart Armstrong was at the door before Brendan came in. Brendan comes in, probably sticks his lovely tanned arm around about him and says, "Listen, son, you're a good fucking player. Let's, take up a notch, see what you can do." And he was excellent under Brendan. So I think it's really, it's going to be a lot of fun and it's really exciting to see what Brendan can do as a manager, because we think this team's good already. Wait until Brendan gets a hold of him.
Yeah. I think one of the things I'm certainly looking interested in is for the coaching element of it is a wee bit around the sort of fitness and conditioning. Mark alluded to it on the other night on the Thursday night forum, where I don't know if you guys are in agreement, where he says that at peak points for the Rodgers era, guys were hyper fit. They had the legs. What we seem to have, certainly, it was better into season 2 of Ange, but with this sort of really heavy-duty, high-intensity pace that kind of had to drown teams within the first half of games. And then as it got later on to that 65, 70-minute stage, we were maybe dropping off a wee bit. It always seemed with our Rodgers team that it was controlled. They never looked flustered. They looked on a level, but they could, no matter what stage, whether it was 10 minutes in or 75 minutes in, they still had that sharp burst of pace and that energy more constant across the game. Do you think that's something does that excite you with this sort of high-intensity attacking style that we've got, Regan? If we can implement greater fitness, particularly in Europe, where maybe that's what let us down. Look at the Real Madrid game, for example. It just got to that 55, 60, 65-minute stage where we started to wear off, weren't we? And we were chasing shadows of people at elite fitness levels.
I think that's spot on, Steve. I think in terms of the Ange, every time you watch an Ange team, they kind of got to like 65 minutes and you're thinking, these players are pretty tired already.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of Brendan, he's got that kind of, the players will be super fit and they'll play some beautiful football to watch. But I think what Brendan does as well is he bulks the players up in a certain way that they're still very good technically and they can last the full 90 minutes. I think back to a game against Aberdeen when Scott Brown's walking about as if he's remember that game where he's doing the arms? Celtic won, they playing well, and then in the last 2 minutes of the game, Aberdeen get 2 men sent off because they were getting frustrated. Remember, Scott Brown's doing all this. So
is that another one? He gets knocked down, he polishes himself up
3 times.
Yeah. He was right at it, wasn't he? He was good. I
think in terms of Brendan, I think as much as Ange said, Celtic will never stop. I think Brendan teams will definitely go to the end. And they'll go to the end probably more than Ange Postecoglou's team would. And I think the important thing to mention as well is with Brendan, see if you look at someone like Ryan Christie, right? Ryan Christie was someone that Brendan identified. I remember he told him to go on loan to Aberdeen, and then he played the semi-final against Craig Levine's side at Murrayfield. And straight after that game, I said, look at Ryan Christie. He looks as if he's bulked up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's something that Brendan will do to players like David Turnbull, maybe even a Stephen Welsh. He'll bulk them up a little bit. maybe they'll become better players. And I know that me and Mark were talking about Kobayashi and saying he needs bulked up a little bit. Maybe Brendan can bulk up something like him and go, right, well, you need a little bit of strength and you can be a good player here.
It'll be interesting to see, because there are some players that we think, that are already good. We think, how can they get better? There's also a couple of guys that, let's face it, there's vast question marks out. You could argue to the cows come home, could anybody get a tune out of them? Kobayashi, Bernabe, Turnbull, he's sort of, how's he going to fit in a new style? Be interesting to see if there's a new incarnation of him. Even, guys like Awata as well. And Welsh, as you say, these are guys that people are maybe completely rubbishing, but we'll see. And I think the fact that he says that we've got a full pre-season again, I would expect him to, give everybody's got a chance here at redemption. We might see a Tony Ralston story or two with some of the guys that were unfancied. But I want to come round to the biggest elephant that was in the room, and you said it earlier on, I did say about get round to it, Regan. He says, well, I've signed a 3-year contract and I can guarantee I'll be here for 3 years and unless I get emptied out. So, quite interesting. But what I think, we spoke about how he can spin you a yarn and take it as it comes. And I'm going to nail my colours to the mast and say, I'm excited for what the future holds next season, but I'm not going to hold everybody to their words. I'm going to step on the air of caution. I'll enjoy the good times and I'll get invested as it comes, but I'm not going to hold them to that word because, time has shown us that you can't ever take anybody completely their words. But it seemed for me anyway, for yesterday and today, he seems a lot more content, doesn't he not? He certainly seems like he's been promised things and that we're singing for the same hymn sheet, board and executive level, to manage our vision. So by him saying that, as you said, maybe he's tied an arm behind his back already. Regan, what do you think? Do you think that's the voices of somebody who is acutely aware that, you will be held to account for what you say? And do you think, does he mean it? I know that sounds flippant, but does he mean it? Because he seemed quite genuine, didn't he?
I think he actually does that. I think there's a little bit in Brendan that goes, see, what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to stay the full 3 years and show every one of those people that doubted me, I'm going to be here for that. But because see, at the end of the day, right, I don't believe that Brendan's a bad person. I don't believe Brendan's a rat, and I certainly don't believe that I believe he's a Celtic supporter, because at the end of the day, Brendan would have come back, like Conor was saying earlier. Brendan's obviously been assured, and obviously Brendan's got balls to come back, because see, at the end of the day, I don't think a lot of people would come back. And I don't know if you heard Martin O'Neill on Talk Sport. He said he wouldn't have come back.
Really?
So,
I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
So I think in terms of Brendan, it shows that obviously Steve, what I've came to the conclusion, right? I've came to the conclusion that possibly that this was in the works from the semi-final of the Scottish Cup, because because Brendan
up, getting his face out there, familiarising.
Yes, because if you remember, Brendan was at the League Cup final against Rangers. He was also at the semi-final against Rangers, and then he was at the final against Inverness. So I think he's been looking at that squad and going, that's actually a decent squad, by the way. Do you know what I mean? He's sitting there and going, right, well, maybe this recruitment that they're doing is actually not too bad, because these players are actually up to a good standard. It's not a case of, obviously you're going to get a case of Bernabe, who Mark says is a raffle winner. Obviously you're going to get, obviously let's like
he is rotten, but I mean, come on, isn't he?
it's like
That's putting it mildly, man. He's about as useful as a sandpaper dildo.
Oh God, no, it's better thought.
I mean, it's like a bag of rebels. You're going to get some good ones, and then you're going to get the coffee. You know what I mean? So,
I like a coffee, man, actually.
I know, it's like you go, fuck coffee. Especially when you get a big one, you go, that's caramel, and then you go, it's a fucking good coffee, man.
I think the big thing for Brendan is, he's probably saying this club's got more things right than it's got things wrong, Stevo. And
Yeah.
I think that's all you can ask for a recruitment team. See if you're getting most things right. Obviously, sometimes you're going to get things wrong as well. I think for Brendan, I think he will be there for 3 years, and I think in terms of this, we just need to enjoy the bus ride. Because
Absolutely. Strap yourself in, eh?
Because at the end of the day, like as long as he's here, I'm here. You know what I mean?
Nah, mate, you've got some coffee support here. I'm not very
I didn't even drink coffee, mate. I didn't even drink coffee. I just like coffee for things. My taste buds are schizophrenic.
Aye, so Connor, as we said, 3 years. He seemed quite genuine, and we spoke throughout the week in shows previously that, you know, Rodgers coming back, it was a way of righting some wrongs, if you will, changing opinions and cementing a legacy, you know, repairing maybe for some damage that was caused to that. But no matter what you thought how he departed, those figures, those records, those trophies, they're in the bag, they're set in stone. You can't change the past. The past is the past, but you can build on it. And we've seen it with Lennon. All right, it went unfortunately wrong at the end, but you can see you can come back and you can be successful. And I would certainly be sitting here right now and hopeful that it will be another successful period of dominance under him. What's your thoughts on the 3-year thing? Do you think that sounded, you know, as I say, somebody that was content to where they were in their sort of career at this moment in time? And it was the word guarantee, that's quite a strong word. He'll be very aware because he mentioned he saw online, he saw the reaction. So is that a very calculated term that he's saying, no, listen, believe in me in this time? And do you think we should believe in him for the off, or still your caution?
I think with some people you're never gonna convince them now. I think the damage was done, and I don't think that no matter what Brendan says is until he starts putting results together and starts winning trophies, they'll change their mind. But no, obviously he's kind of put his neck on the chopping block now, and he's got every right to do that, and I give him kudos for doing it. Whether I believe him or not, it's a different story. You know, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, blah blah blah. Fool me, can't get fooled again. But yeah, I hope he does do it. I feel like the thing in my mind is I don't know if this is just me being naive, but he can't just can't do it again, can he? He can't do it again. He can't say, I'm staying here for 3 years. Next season, fucking Aston Villa flashing their ankle, and he's like, see you later, bye. He can't do it again. But
Saudi Arabia flashing the cash.
Flashing their hijab. But he's the thing he said. Also said he never apologised, right? He did say he felt he didn't like upsetting people and making people upset, and he hammered home the fact is he's well aware of what he did and how people seen it and how they've remembered it, and he wants to change their opinion, and he hopes that they will back him, and he is, in his own words, he says he never wanted to do that, and it upset him as well, having to do it the way he did, but I guess he almost had no choice. So yeah, it's really, I think he will do it. I hope he does do it. As you said, whether he sticks to it or whether he does, we know for a fact he's a winner, and history is set in stone, and whatever he achieves here for however long he's here, we'll enjoy it. And history can never be changed or forgotten. Well, unless you're Rangers. But let's just hope that Brendan sticks to his word.
Yeah, well, that's it. We can only take it at face value and hope for the best. But, in terms of the sort of press conference, the one other thing that before we finish up that we want to touch on is we ran it on Thursday night, this notion of, does he have to apologise? Now, the question is, apologise for what? it's totally subjective, isn't it? It's how you felt. Some people feel for whatever reason that they have been hard done by and that they're entitled to some sort of apologies. Others can look at it through the business as usual, and it's, he's a hired gun, no matter who he is, no matter what your heart is. It's different for you and I. If they asked, Aaron, one of us three, do you want to manage Celtic tomorrow? We would do it, and we would probably never want to leave if we were a professional elite level manager, however, who just happened to support Celtic and were asked to do it. That's a different story, because you've still got to make a living, you still want to progress, and you still want to get on. So you can't really compare a complete fan who's only a fan and would love to do the job versus someone that is their job and they get a chance to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But Regan, the thing that he did do is he used the term regret. He didn't use anything that suggested it was an apology. I personally think it was the best tack to do it. He showed that human side, that sort of presence of mind to say, I understand that I left and I understand that I hurt people. However, I didn't regret the decision. I think you've got to be strong in your conviction, haven't you?
Aye, because at the end of the day, I've got this thing going for his old people that in terms of the Leicester thing, that was either take the job now or don't take it at all. And I think in terms of Brendan's point of view, if you're looking at Leicester at that point in time, Leicester not long won the title there. He's seen a attractive proposition, and they thought, right, this is a good chance for me. I think in terms of this, I said it when I was talking last night. I think the big thing for Brendan as well is that people need to remember is, right, see football players that go to Celtic and Rangers, right, they're only going to be there for 2 or 3 years if they're very good players. See, like your Virgil van Dijk, I'm trying to think of other players, but what I'm trying to say is, see if you're very good at your job, other people are going to come and get you. It's the same way, Stevo. See if you're very good at your job, somebody's going to come and get you. Do you know, it's just the way things. It's just the way things go. See the fact that Brendan is wanted by other clubs. Surely that's the best thing for Celtic, because it attracts Celtic. Because at the end of the day, see for Celtic's point of view, like what people keep going on about that. Neil Lennon and John Kennedy have got jobs for life in Celtic if they wanted it, right? But at the end of the day, see if Neil Lennon got a better job offered to him, he would have went. But the problem is he wasn't getting offered it. And I think for the thing that we need to remember with Brendan is, Brendan also spoke about in the press conference about his conversation with Callum McGregor. And he also said that when he spoke to Callum says the squad's very hungry, it's got very ambitious players. And I think that will excite Brendan, because as you look at the squad, we've got players like Jota. I think someone that's going to be so interesting is Big O, because see, in terms of Big O, I don't think Big O's a player, but see, there's one guy that could change my mind. It could be Brendan Rodgers.
Rodgers, exactly. It makes a transformation there.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, Steve, see, Big O, he looks a bit raw, and someone that I could probably compare him to is Lee Griffiths, because at the end of the day, as much as we like to say it, every single season, Lee Griffiths was a football player for Celtic, he was a bit of a liability.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of that, Brendan will know that if we're probably going to go in the market, that O is going to be probably the third choice striker. So he's probably going to say to O, look, this is going to be your challenge. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of that, I think these players will want to play for Rodgers, because let's not forget, see people like Jota, they've been watching the Premier League for they've been young. They're watching Rodgers, and they're saying this guy's a really good coach.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Celtic's group chat for the first team players, I'm sure the group chat's been lighting up and going, people like Jota and Maeda going, what a manager we've got in here, by the way, what a manager. Do you know what I mean? And then McGregor's wait till you get on that training pitch. One thing I want to mention about Brendan as well is we can't underestimate it. He said that as well. We can't underestimate how much Brendan enjoyed Scotland, because he mentioned it again today. He says,
he sounded very settled, didn't he? He was happy.
Aye, because he says, see, as much as you guys think I wanted to leave, I really enjoyed Scotland, and I really enjoyed the people. I really enjoyed it. My family's really happy here. I think that's something we forget as well. We think, oh, he's just the first chance he's got, he's away. I think we need to realise that Brendan really enjoyed Scotland. He really enjoyed Celtic. He loved Celtic. But sometimes in life, these opportunities pop up, and sometimes it's very hard to say no.
Yeah.
If you remember, he bought a home here as well. You know, the club provides you with accommodation, but he went and bought his own mansion up the road. Do you know what I mean? To lay down roots and that. Do you know what I mean? So.
Well, that's the thing, Connor. We'll just finish up with that there. Just says, 3 years, he's talking about commitment. Obviously, listen, when you've got that kind of money and you're sort of, you're a manager at Celtic, you can afford to buy yourself a gaff, so read that as you will. You need somewhere to stay, do you not? But he's talking about commitment. He sounded like a man that was content. He sounded like a man that was driven. And he kept saying as well about wanting to hopefully continue the winning and prove people wrong by actions rather than words. And I think that's the most important thing. Just to, quickly touch on your take on the way that he tackled the media. The questions were very much around, let's face it, they were fishing, were they not, for an apology. I noticed that the BBC didn't get in. Why is that? Who knows? Maybe we'll find out. Maybe they were suspecting a typical chopping job with the BBC and it being a bit more heavy-handed. But either way, I'm all for it. If the club want to decide who to let in, who not to let in, for the better, what goes in front of us, then so be it. But do you think he tackled it in the best way by just bringing it down to a sort of human level and saying, I understand how you would have felt, I regret making people feel that way, but business is business. I think that's the best way to do it, and should we respect that, and rather than reading into it, as some folk unfortunately have?
Aye, I think the wrong thing would have been to do was just come out and apologise, because either way you would have been upsetting somebody. You would either been upsetting the people who were saying, oh, didn't give him an apology and all that, and if he didn't, then people would say, oh, where's your fucking apology? He kind of did a mixture of both. He kind of danced and put it very well. And the media in this country are programmed and trained to try and trip up managers and get them to admit and say things that they might not necessarily want to admit, and try and get their barbs in. And I feel that Brendan's kind of too long in the tooth and he's too clever to deal with it. Whereas Ange was, keep it dealing with the media, was more like a sledgehammer, just batting them away. I feel that Brendan's more like a precise scalpel to kind of just cut them away and deal with them and just get away with saying what he needs to say and nothing more. I don't feel like, if people are wanting to look into it too much, then that's fine. But, at the end of the day, you can tell he regrets upsetting people. But like he says, he doesn't regret the decision. And, fair fucks them, because, it would have been very, very easy for him to, during his first major press conference addressing, the Celtic support and addressing the media, to almost get on his knees and grovel and say, oh, I'm sorry, will you take me back? And all that shite. So, no, I'm happy with the way that Brendan dealt with it. And I just hope that, we're not going to be seeing articles by Sky Sports and the BBC saying, oh, Brendan said this and this way, and his left eyeball twitched for half a millisecond when he said this line. It must mean this. So I think we're all good.
Yeah, that's the thing. To wrap it up there, guys, says it was a very, it was a very professional performance, wasn't it? We wouldn't expect anything less from him. Again, it's not to decry Ange. We thank him. Had some great times under Ange. I thought he was a fantastic manager. I would have liked to have seen him stay. But we're just talking about what we saw in front of us. And it was, for me anyway, it was quite refreshing. I know it's his first press conference, but it reminded me the press conferences we got before with Ange, and says, like him or loathe him, think he spins you a yarn or he's telling you the truth. One thing he certainly does is he captivates, does he not, and he draws you in. And I actually like listening to what he's got to say. That's just what he's talking about at base level with the standardised questions. I'm looking forward to pre-season stuff, more content coming out for the club, talking about how we're moving on, what we're thinking about doing tactics, all that kind of stuff. Because it's nice, is it not, to have a manager in place who enjoys that side of the job, holding court and telling folk what's going on, because we want to connect with fans, and Ange might be connected with fans in a different way, but information and feeding through and telling folk what's happening, transparency, and plotting out your vision, it goes a long way, doesn't it, Regan? It helps make folk invest and feel connected.
I don't know if you've seen the end of the press conference, Stevo, but he did mention the media. He did say, I'm looking forward to speaking with you guys as well. And I think that's something that Connor said a minute ago as well. The fact that Brendan's really good at dealing with the media, and I think we've got the perfect guy, and I think sometimes the media won't know what to expect, because at the end of the day, Brendan's very good at saying one thing to the media and doing something totally different in the Celtic dressing room. So I think we've got the perfect man, and I'm looking forward to seeing Brendan Rodgers here for 3 in a row.
Yeah, Brendan is hopefully here for 3 of his own, topping us up to the 5, and then, as he says, at the end of the 3, we'll take it for there. Hopefully we'll get that far down the road, but exciting times ahead, guys? So, as I said, just to wrap it up, thank you very much. Listen, over 160 easy there, just at the top end of the hour. Thanks, as always, for taking the time out your day, especially in the hot foot, to come and join us and chat a wee bit about Celtic and talk about Brendan returning. Tonight, of course, Bustalgia's back, our very own time-travelling team, hosted by the bold Phil McGinn. Will be here to talk about, what's he talking about again? Brendan Rodgers, that's right, he's talking about Brendan Rodgers. Imagine that, fucking hell. But
So, Steve, do you know what you need to do tonight? You need to sit around, watch Bustalgia, get a bag
of cans,
and talk about Brendan Rodgers.
Get a bag of cans. Right, get your bag of cans, because we've got Brendan Rodgers.
With the Rodgers back.
Happy days indeed. Plenty more of this to come. Brendan Rodgers is back, and are you going to be back at the weekend? Are you going to be on the Sunday Blether? Regan, are you going to be doing that?
I will be, Steve. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting a bit of debate going with David. He was a bit naughty last week, but I'll definitely be there again for some more.
Who's going to slap him back into place?
I mean, David's on the detention. Me and him's not talking. I blocked his number. I might unblock it Saturday night.
Well, I look forward to all the shows that are coming through. Thanks again. As I say, if you haven't done already, before you leave, make sure you give us a wee thumbs up. And if you haven't, subscribe, because there's plenty more where this came from. It's rumbling on as we kick into summer, and the shows are going to be coming thick and fast. And now Brendan's in charge. It's just going to be snowballing now, isn't it? We're going to be seeing links to players. We're going to be hearing players out, players in. We've got a tour coming up. Happy days, can't wait, and we'll be here for all of that, and hopefully you guys are too. Anyway, see you all later. Thanks again, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. See you all later.
Weekend. God bless.